I just got my booster, so I'm gonna keep. I don't know what that's worth because a new variant comes out every 10 minutes. But what the hell? I'm gonna go make people laugh. So you come see me, Jimmy, when you're not all contagion and dangerous. You come backstage. We'll take a picture from about 25 feet apart because it sounds like you get it every 3 weeks.
Right, I'm getting it every quarter at this.
I got my booster shot. I'm 65, so I got it yesterday, day before. And I was hurting. I had it. I've been telling people I got it in my ass, but I got it. I had it right below my balls because I wanted them to get bigger. So
yeah, nice.
I think that's a real booster. It raises you an inch off your chair. So that's what it's meant to do.
I think I'll do it that way.
Do it that way. And tell the pharmacist that Bob told you to do that.
Do you think it's a great success what's happened so far? Do you think the lockdowns were good for our kids? Do you think we slowed down the death rate? More people have died now under President Biden than did under President Trump. You are the one responsible. You are the architect. You are the lead architect for the response from the government, and now 800,000 people have died.
Right.
So you think it's a winning success, what you've advocated for government?
Senator, first of all, if you look at everything that I said, you accuse me of in a monolithic way telling people what they need to do. Everything that I've said has been in support of the CDC guidelines. Wear a mask, get boosted.
And you've advocated to make it coercive
take
done
a look
through
at
force,
everything
you've
that I've
advocated
said.
that it be done by mandate.
Right.
You've advocated that your infallible opinion be dictated by law.
Right.
We've got to understand the science behind what we do. Politicians are very difficult because they go to do PPE at Oxford predominantly, or Cambridge. We don't have PPE at Cambridge, I don't think. But anyway, they're not scientists. And those that are have left the field for a long time. They can't be analytical about the data. So, we're all in the same storm. Rich people, poor people, but we're all in different boats. The investment banker behind me, who I'm sure will one day live in a beautiful large house with several acres of land, have some servants around him, is a very different boat for him if COVID hits and he has to go into lockdown from an unmarried mother with 3 small children under 7 living in a high-rise building with inadequate accommodation. It's different for a gig economy worker compared to a university lecturer. He or she is going to continue to get paid. The gig worker is going to get nothing. A pub owner who owns the pub, he's going to get nothing if he has to shut. These people will end up on unemployment benefits, without a job, without a career. The implication of some of the COVID measures, the COVID laws, which are very difficult for the police to enforce, as you all know, it just has no evidence base in medicine.
Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, has famously said that it's his intention to piss off the unvaccinated. Let's have a look. Macron shared his desire to make life difficult for the unvaccinated. I really want to piss off the unvaccinated, and so we're going to continue doing that until the end. We need to tell them that from January 15th, you will no longer be able to go to the restaurant, you will no longer be able to go for coffee, you will no longer be able to go to the theatre, you will no longer be able to go to the cinema. My concern would be, of course, that what will be achieved by imposing those measures will pale in comparison to the amount of tension, disunity, suspicion, cynicism between people of one nation. Do you feel that we can be so cavalier with the principles of freedom, with the principles of honest and open trust? It's been hard enough anyway, don't you find? I'm speaking from an obviously Anglophonic perspective. Since Trump and the controversies around Trump's presidency and the subsequent election, since Brexit and the attitudes that have surrounded it, to find spaces where people can come together and have an open, good faith conversation. This type of language, accompanied by those type of measures, does not seem to me to be a step in the direction of a brighter future. Oh, thank God, some communities are being marginalised. Elsewhere, it will be impossible to use that kind of language about a minority in broad daylight with such relish. But here, we have found an opportunity to create alienation, condemnation, ghettoisation. Like, either you're against the idea of condemning minorities or you're not. He added that his government is putting pressure on the unvaccinated by limiting as much as possible their access to activities in social life, like poverty. And coincidentally, most of those people will be poor. In a way, if we've got no actual universal values, only a set of beliefs that vacillate depending on where your particular tribal alliances are flowing, then what is it we're trying to preserve? You know, when you look at broader ecological issues, broader global issues, that we're trying to preserve humanity, we're trying to preserve the planet, we're trying to create something beautiful. If we just can 1 minute say, I hate that group of people, they're disgusting, let's not include them in society. Who did you mean then? Did you mean non-white people? No, I meant unvaccinated people. We're so mired in the particularities of an admittedly novel situation that I think we're missing something really important. We're introducing legislation, regulation, and attitudes that are, in my opinion, laying a foundation for a world that will not be beautiful, that will not be fit for our children. So I feel, conversely, that we should put aside prejudices around what people will and will not have done medically for themselves. And if you're an unvaccinated person, put aside your cynicism and skepticism about people's willingness to go along with what I'm sure you would regard as the pharmacological and government agenda, and actually accept that we human beings are sooner or later going to have to get along with one another. We can't afford to be defined by single issues in this way, because what it's allowing to happen is for us to be marched into tiny little cells of authoritarianism that I think will be ubiquitously applied down the line, or at least applied conveniently for powerful institutions. To get the final word on the complex issue of vaccination, let's turn to that bastion of piety, Sir, I think you have to say it twice now, Sir Tony Blair. 10 days before he was made a Knight Companion of the Most Noble Order of the Garter. That sounds like a sarcastic name. It sounds like their actual intention is, what's the sort of thing you could call Tony Blair that he most plainly isn't? How about a Knight Companion of the Most Noble Order of the Garter? Fucking hell, that's stupid. Tony Blair issued a characteristically sweeping verdict. If you're not vaccinated and you're eligible, you're not just irresponsible, you're an idiot. That's nice to hear Tony Blair there, removing any possibility of complexity. Inevitably, the facts of the vaccine gap are immeasurably more complicated, as no end of statistics prove, particularly in cities beyond high levels of mobility and transience. Figures showing large numbers of unvaccinated people reflect much deeper questions of age, class, ethnicity, faith and language, and what poverty, insecurity, institutionalised prejudice do to people's relationship with the state. In a way, you can look at this issue of coronavirus and the vaccines and the mandates not in regard to their own specific and particular application, but as a new lens to reveal what problems were already evident in our society, but are now more amplified and more visible. This is an extraordinary time, and extraordinary revelations are rolling out as a result. For me, what I feel like is the only thing we can have recourse to at a time like this are deep-held personal principles about how we treat one another individually. What is our vision for a society going forward? How do we speak to and about one another? Once you license condemnation, and people like Tony Blair, who's just been called the most noble, lovable, huggable, Mac Daddy, knee-high sock garter-wearing lord of all kingdoms, calling people idiots, it's like, well, who are you then? Because actually those people you've called idiots are poor people from ethnic minorities. In that sense, the limits of the vaccination drive remind us of one of the most simple truths of power and politics, that if governments continually ignore fundamental issues of trust and basic empathy, any big social rupture will instantly reveal the consequences. The vaccine gap shows us how far we are from being a society that understands itself collectively, and how easily we still break into us and them. It demands not judgment, but a level of understanding we have yet to get near. And at the moment, we seem to have no appetite to move towards either. People are burrowing deeper and deeper into their enclaves of prejudice and judgment. We can take responsibility for ourselves, even though there are many areas where freedom seems to be limited, where our ability to communicate, access real information, operate free from censorship, travel, move around, make decisions for ourselves. All around you see impediments and an impinging on what would have once been regarded as basic liberty. But what cannot be controlled is your own relationship with your innermost self. Who are you really? How do you treat other people? How do you speak about other people? What kind of human being do you want to become? What kind of world do you want to live in? And ultimately, what sacrifices are you willing to make? What actions are you willing to take to bring about the kind of society that I believe we collectively deserve? Surely it must be built on openness, tolerance, and a willingness to reach out a hand, albeit a gloved hand, across the aisle to people who see the world differently from you. But that's just what I think. What do you think?